How do I figure out what's next in my career? How do I align my work with what truly matters to me? And the biggest question of all, can I really design a career that I love? Hey, my name is Jen Smith, and I believe career success doesn't have to come at the expense of living a radiantly happy and healthy lifestyle. As a former HR leader and recruiter turned career coach, I've seen how traditional paths can leave people burned out or boxed in. And I know there's a better way, one that invites you to let go of outdated rules and outside expectations, one that evolves and supports meaningful growth over time. Whether you're feeling stuck, craving more clarity, or ready to expand within your current role and beyond, this show is for you. So grab your coffee or your kombucha, pull up a seat, and get ready to explore practical, modern strategies for building a meaningful, heart-based career. Because you deserve a long, radiantly happy, and healthy career. This is the Flourish Careers Podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Flourish Careers Podcast. I'm Jen Smith, your host, and I'm thrilled to be here with you for season 10. This season is all about flourishing together. We have a full lineup of heartfelt, insightful conversations with incredible guests. Each episode is a curated conversation designed to inspire, uplift, and offer practical wisdom to help you flourish in your career and beyond. Today, I'm so delighted to introduce you to Dr. Lacey. Dr. Lacey is a psychologist, keynote speaker, and executive leadership coach with over 15 years of experience as a C-suite leader in higher education. She's the founder and CEO of H&L Legacy Consulting, where she's on a mission to help high-achieving women lead with unshakable confidence. Known for blending psychology, storytelling, and strategy, Dr. Lacey empowers women to lead unapologetically and organizations to create psychologically safe, thriving workplaces. I had the joy of meeting Casey in real life at the Thrive conference, and she is such a breath of fresh air. She radiates warmth and wisdom and confidence everywhere she goes, and I'm so delighted to have her on the show. So Casey, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Jen. And it's absolutely my honor to be here with you. Finally, we get to do all the things again.
I know. I'm so excited. So, and I have to tell listeners too, I love asking guests what topics fire them up. And your response really stood out to me. It was very clear. Calling out hustle culture, rewriting the rules around confidence, and helping women take bold action, even if they don't feel 100% ready. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. This is going to be amazing.
Yes, absolutely. Those are my favorite topics. I've got lots.
Yes.
Those definitely are the top.
Well, they're certainly aligned. So let's start with your story. So tell us about your background and maybe a time in your life when confidence kind of felt out of reach and how that experience really shaped your mission today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'll give you my abbreviated version of my keynote here. So again, for myself, kind of complicated beginning, moved out on my own at 16, determined to create a better future for myself. I went on to college and got my undergraduate degree in psychology. And then I went on to get my PhD in counseling psychology just at the age of 26. So high achiever, Enneagram 3, all the things. And then I started my career, as a psychologist. And then there was a job that came open that I thought was completely out of reach. It was an executive director role over counseling health services. But there was a female VP that saw something in me. It was kind of like her younger self. And so she hired me. And then I was in that career in terms of counseling health services, professor in psychology, and then kind of grew in my role associate dean. But kind of my pivotal moment was I was encouraged to apply for the vice president role. We continue to have whoever I reported to, VPs. They were great people, but they were terrible leaders.
Oh, yes.
And so I knew that I could do a better job. But I still, at that moment in my career, really didn't believe in myself, to be honest. There was that lack of confidence for myself. So I applied, got a phone interview, didn't get an on-campus interview, but actually found out from friends on the search committee that they were given the directive to hire a man. And I think that lit a fire in me because it was hey, first of all, illegal, not okay, all the things. But it was just okay, what are you doing? And I was reading this book by Sally Hegelstein and Marshall Goldsmith, How Women Rise. And it really unpacked the psychology behind how women play small and how we hold ourselves back. And so I was determined to change those things. And then the job, of course, they hired a man, didn't work out. He was there for a year. And then it came open again. And I actually had one of the scariest meetings of my life. I went to the president and I was like, here's why you're going to hire me. And here's why I'm amazing. I said it much better than that. But got the opportunity, was interim, then appointed permanent, and was the only female VP for many years. Then there was other females that came later, but really in this very male-dominated space, just grew in my career, but got to a place too where a very like toxic workplace, and it was time to go. And so launched my own business. I went out and I was like, what do I love? I love working with women. I also am determined to really work with organizations to make sure that they're creating these psychologically safe workplaces where confident women can thrive. So that's my abbreviated version. I live here in Missouri with my 2 daughters. They are not named Macy, Tracy, Stacy, any of those things, because I get to be Casey, Lacey, and that's special. So I live here in Missouri with my husband and 2 daughters, and love coaching women. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So many, I feel like, can relate to this too. And just, especially being the only female in leadership. And it's been like that for so many years. I remember at the conference when Bobby Carlton was talking, and she was talking about the manels, like how these panels are all like men. And I feel like growing up in my career, that's all I ever saw too. And once there was a female leader, it was like, oh my gosh, look at how amazing this is. And then just like watching that as a role model. And now you're doing that for your daughters and so many other people. But oh my gosh, thank you for sharing your story. There's a lot in there. And I remember, we don't have to go into this here, but I remember at dinner you shared some of that toxic environment that really helped you step out on your own. And it was wild. I mean, I've heard stories. Being in HR, you see and hear stories, but this one really like topped the charts of what you went through. And my gosh, like the courage you had to step in and, get hired in that role and then continue to be courageous and lead in that role in that toxic environment is really profound. So thank you so much for sharing that and following your heart too into starting your own business. Now, the name of your business is after your daughters, right?
It is, yeah. It's a H&L Legacy Consulting, which is Harper and Lauren. So Harper Jean and Lauren Rose. So
amazing.
Yes, they had a big day today. So all the things, 8 and then turned 3. So yeah, they are the reason I do this, because I don't want them to see women lack this confidence or to go in those workplaces to where it is toxic and that they can't be their confident selves.
They are so lucky to have you. And yes, your name, Dr. Casey Lacey, is amazing. I remember
into it. It's good for branding. People don't
so
forget
good.
Dr. Casey Lacey. So
they definitely don't. It's amazing. So, well, I love your mission and I'm excited to dive in a little bit more. So in your own path, and you called out the Enneagram 3, same, my friend, like you cannot, I get it. Like you can't help that like achiever's ambition, but how do you balance that with rest? And so I see this a lot with women. It's like that go, the burnout, and then boom, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm forcing myself to rest. So talk to us about that a little bit.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So sometimes I talk about the saboteurs of confidence, and one of them is the overachiever and like the gold star chaser. And like y'all, I was her. I mean, for sure. I mean, I got the PhD at 26, so I'm here for it. And it's hard, like really those questions of like a lot of it unpacks. There's people pleasing, working long hours. Like for myself, it was like it never felt enough. And I truly believed this narrative is that if I worked hard, I stayed late, I did all the things, that I would be recognized with a salary or a title. And that was so far from the truth. Like that was part of it. But for myself, I really hit a moment of burnout, especially during COVID. I mean, a lot of people did. It was during a presidential transition, and I was actually the chair of our task force. And so I had to make these decisions, and it felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. And I remember my husband, he'd come home because he was in law enforcement. So he was still out working, but he'd come home and he was like, you look like you're standing at the bottom of a mountain waiting for like a boulder to take you out. And you can't move. And it just hit in that way. And I felt like I was giving so much to work that I had nothing left to give to myself. I had nothing left to give to my daughters, my family, whatever it may be. And so it is so important to rest. And it's so hard. This one I really have to work on, because it's like, I want to go, I want to do all the things. I'm a big dreamer, but I also have to listen to my body, because for myself, like it shows up that way. I'm a somatic stressor. I'll get a weird eye twitch. So that's when I know, like, Casey, you need to slow down. You need to check in with yourself. But even since leaving that toxic workplace and doing all the things, like I've lost 85 pounds because like I had just like, I wasn't taking care of myself. There was no time. There's always like, the concept of no time. but you have to rest. You cannot pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
You have to take care of yourself. Yes, so you can be there for everybody else, but you have to have that recovery. Like our bodies crave it. And so you
They
have to figure out what
do.
that looks like for you.
Right. And what does that look like for you?
Oh my gosh, for me, I like to sleep. Like I need good sleep. There's that. But it's also like being okay with sometimes it's not like, okay, enough's enough for one day. Like, okay, I have my to-do list. And it's like, but at the end of the day, it's like, I did my best that day. So it truly is a mindset shift. And it's also prioritizing and being okay with rest. Like that's part of it too. It's a huge mindset shift of being like, okay, my rest is actually going to make me more productive rather than like pushing through and grinding in like that hustle.
Yes, to all of that. Allowing yourself that pause is so real, and especially for high achievers. And the other thing that jumped out there is the prioritization. Of course, sleep,
Yes.
like, yes, we need to our sleep, but the prioritization, like really thinking, okay, this week, these are the 3 things that I'm going to focus on this week. And that's what I'm going to get done. And anything else is a bonus, or 3 things for the day, whatever it is for you. But that can really make such a difference, especially in our world where we're connected 24/7 and like all the things are coming at us all the time. We can't possibly get anything done with the amount of, disturbances from that perspective. And so when you really can like narrow in on those 3 things and then say, okay, you know what? I didn't get through all my emails, which whoever does, like, it's okay. I got the 3 things done and I'm going to like let that flow into tomorrow or next week or whatever it is. I think that can really be helpful. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is really listening to your body. I mean, that is so critical, and you don't learn that until it's too late. I feel like most people like don't learn that until it's too late. So it's like, noticing. For me, it's my breath. Like if I start losing my breath, I can't catch my breath. I know something like the eye twitch, like whatever it is, like noticing that can really say, okay, you know what? It's time to take a pause. Let me just turn my brain off for a little bit, do whatever I need to do to recalibrate and move on. So
as well, we get so busy that like we don't take the moment to even pause to ask how we're really doing or take the moment to get quiet. Like I think that's part of it. And that was something I had to learn. You're right. Learning to breathe. Like we don't even know how to breathe right. Like that's part of it. Like, and then just checking in, and this whole concept lately, it's been I'm behind, like this mindset of like, but what is behind? Like what I do is not life or death. So it's like, that's a reality that I tell myself. And so if I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm behind, oh, there's not enough time. It's this narrative that we spin sometimes too, that also is not helpful. And it's just the lies, and it keeps us in this kind of like trapped culture. So.
It does. And it makes me think of just like the comparison and social media and seeing everybody's highlights. And that makes you feel like you're behind, and it's like, but you're not really ever seeing the whole story. And so that can be really an interesting conversation too. So,
the compare stuff is my favorite to talk about because again, we compare, that's going to naturally happen.
It is.
But it's really shifting from like, you go to this compare to despair. Like that's not the healthy place to be. It's like moving to that next level, like compare to aware. Like, why am I comparing myself? And then the last is like compare to dare. Like if you're comparing yourself and you see this person with something, you're like, oh, well, maybe I can do that too. Like, so it's really shifting out of like, okay, I want that. I can have it, rather than this like feeling like crap that you're not enough and everyone's better than you and smarter and all the things.
I'm obsessed with compare to aware and compare to dare. And I would take that a step further and like dare to go out on a limb and reach out to that person and tell them what you love about them and like maybe start a conversation or have a relationship. And then it's like, oh my gosh, like then they're in your world and you can kind of build on that and see yourself in them and like all of the beautiful things that come from that.
Or you can learn how they did it too.
Yes.
Part of it. Yeah. And then realize that they also don't have it all together.
Yeah, true. This is exactly right. Yeah. And then it's so funny because you do like you put people up on a pedestal, say, because you think they're doing it all. And then you really learn what's behind the scenes and they're just like you. And then it just starts to kind of like normalize all this stuff, which is really helpful. So anyways, I think you need a trademark. Compare to aware and compare to dare.
And it's in my book. So
fabulous.
It's going to be there, but you're right. Maybe I need to work on the trademark.
I love it. It's so good. I think it's really helpful too, just to think about. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Now let's talk about confidence a little bit more. What is one myth about confidence you wish everyone would stop believing?
So the biggest myth I see is that people think like you either have it or you don't. It's a skill. You can learn it. Like, it's not some personality trait. It's not some like magical genetic thing we have. Like, it really is a skill. And it's something that everyone can learn.
It's true. How do you learn confidence?
Honestly, through action. I think that's part of it. First of all, you got to like really understand, what are the limiting beliefs? What's the narrative going on in your head? But I think that's the second myth I was going to say is that like confidence comes through action. And so there's just like, I have to be 100% ready. And I love the Hewlett-Packard study that looks at this, and that gets into the career stuff, which I know you love, where it's like women only apply for a job if they're like, anywhere from 95 to 100% ready, where men will apply if they're 60% ready. So it's like, we tend to overestimate our risk and underestimate our abilities. And so truly it's about like taking that action. And that's where people build the confidence, is taking action and then learning from it. And I think too, there's this like fear of failure. And honestly, like the biggest things I've learned is like from those failures. And I didn't die. Like, it's always going to be okay. But it's like taking that action and then showing up. That's how you build that muscle of confidence.
Hey there, beloved listener. It's Jen here, and I'm popping in with a quick invitation just for you. I know how hard it can be to navigate your career, especially in a world of work that's constantly changing. That's why I created The Gathering Ground. It's an insider circle for steady, heart-based support to help you grow with clarity, confidence, and community. Inside the Gathering Ground membership, you're invited to join us for weekly office hours to ask questions and stay grounded, exclusive pricing on one-on-one coaching, seasonal goal setting and reflection workshops. You'll receive a secret monthly newsletter with fresh tools and inspiration. There's a growing library of networking scripts, checklists, and career development tools designed to support you throughout your career. And best of all, a kind, generous community of professionals who just get it. So whether you're staying, shifting, or starting fresh, this is your space to be supported and stretched in the best way possible. It's just $97 to join, then $27 a month. Flexible, affordable, and no long-term commitment. To get started, head on over to flourish.careers/community and answer a few quick questions. Based on your responses, I'll send you a personalized development plan so you can begin right away with clear human support. No bots, no templates, just thoughtful guidance to move forward with confidence, because you deserve a long, radiantly happy, and healthy career. I cannot wait to see you on the inside. Now, back to the episode. I talk with folks a lot about this, where it's like, oh, I'm just not confident to make that career change, or I'm just not confident to apply for that job. But that's really not what it's about. It's the courage to take the action, to gain the confidence and build the confidence. And I love that you said it's a skill, because it takes practice. It takes practice over time to build that skill. And none of us are born. There isn't a light switch to turn on or off, and it really comes over time. And I just think that this myth is so deeply ingrained in everything in our culture. And I know I've fallen into it myself. And then I realized sometimes I just like jump into something and just say, you know what, I'll figure it out later. And that's just kind of what you do, right? I mean,
no, absolutely. I try to live by the like 80% B plus mentality. And like, that's hard for me. Again, the overachiever, perfectionist, all the things, like I was an A plus person. And so it's like, no, but like done is better than perfect. Like sometimes there's just such other ways to do it. And that's all that energy that we waste thinking it has to be perfect. And that's a huge other saboteur to confidence, is like, it has to be perfect. Well, that keeps you trapped and then analysis paralysis and stuck in so many ways rather than taking action.
Yeah, I really want to hone in on that, because you said a couple things, because it's really important for folks to hear this, because so many of us really do wait till we feel 100% ready before making any kind of change or move or whatever. And you just mentioned like the analysis paralysis, the perfectionism, the, just feeling super stuck. And so, I just want to dig into that a little bit more. Like, maybe can you share like why you think this is such a common trap, or maybe there's some science behind it that you'd be willing to share?
Oh, yes. No, absolutely. So a lot of times too, especially like these saboteurs, it comes from early on. And especially as women, which is kind of like my specialty, is we're socialized in lots of different ways. So, there's the people pleasing, perfectionism, et cetera. Sometimes people also then come from like childhoods where they equated, I have to be perfect to be safe. And so there's just a lot of those aspects aspects of like the upbringing. And in terms of just like, again, we've talked about some of the other research, but the research does show that we overestimate our risk and underestimate our abilities, especially in environments where like women aren't necessarily like historically represented. And so there's this part of our brain that tries to keep us safe. So it's like the lower part of your brain, they talk about it. And I always say like, okay, that's always like my inner critic. So for me, my name's Casey. A lot of people read it Cassie. So like my inner critic, I call her Cassie because she's an assy. So she's like not always kind. She needs to like go take a nap or eat a Snickers. I don't know. But she says a lot of these things because she's trying to keep me safe. My brain cannot differentiate between here's a saber-toothed tiger trying to come kill me, or there's that email from my boss that triggered me. So that's where it's like getting in and understanding our central nervous system and like how we respond with the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. Like all of those things happen. And it's truly that brain research that, again, that's where like the perfectionism or people pleasing or, you know, this confidence aspect, it's just a protective aspect. It's a coping mechanism, but we also realize it doesn't serve us. It holds us back, especially in our careers and our lives.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing the inner critic. I'm dying about Cassie's and Assy. That is hilarious. We all need to name our inner critic. I've never done that. I've heard her, but I've never done that. I need to name her.
I heard one lady, I love this. She actually said, she's like, I named my inner critic Steve because I'm not going to let some man talk to me like that. I loved it. I was like, I'm here for it. I'm 100% here for it. So
that is amazing. Oh my gosh. This is so good because you know what it does too? Like, okay, it brings a little light to it. So you have this inner critic, it's screaming at you. You're not good enough. It's not perfect. All these things. Yeah. And then you notice it, you name it, and then do something about it. Yeah. So you can kind of reframe. So how do you help people like shift that narrative? So
that's a little bit of the name it to tame it phenomenon where if you have to recognize it, because a lot of times these narratives, they're so automatic that we don't even realize. I mean, we have anywhere, I think they say, 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. And so like, that's so quick that we're not even like slowing down to realize what those thoughts are. So that's obviously the first step. And it's understanding sometimes too, people have patterns or triggers. Maybe it's in a certain environment. Maybe there's a person that they're around that like, then that really, triggers it. But then it's like, you've got to be able to like, at first, like name it, but then neutralize it or replace it. And so you can like neutralize the thought of like, oh, I'm a terrible, public speaker. I'm like, okay, I'm okay. I don't have to be great, but then it's like going to this next level of like, okay, then what can I do to kind of build that confidence over time as I do the reps and I speak more? Well, then I can get to great. Like it is a skill, but it is really reframing those thoughts and like countering them or at least neutralizing them until you get to that place. Because I'm not a big fan of like fake it till you make it, but because it just, it doesn't work. But there is a part of it where it's like, hey, I've got to realize that what I'm telling myself is my inner critic. And just because I have a thought does not make it a fact.
Right.
So.
Yes, the neutralize that really stands out to me. And that's something that I hadn't really heard before. And so it's not like you're listening to it, you're not reframing it, you're just neutralizing it. Like, okay, thank you. You said that. Thank you. Now let me move on and do what I was going to do or whatever. So
I don't have to like absorb it and believe it. I'm just going to leave it there or compartmentalize it, put it in a healthy box. So.
Yes. And something that came up as you were talking, I think it's Marie Forleo who says like everything is figure outable, right? Like
Marie.
That. Yes. Like that really stands out to me. Yes. Like that's like a good mindset when you hear that inner critic. It's like, okay, hear you, but everything's figure outable. Like we can figure this out no matter what it is. And so, and I truly believe that. I mean,
I do too. I always tell the story, like when I'm doing keynotes, I'm like, everything's figure outable. If I can take apart a dryer and find that like stupid toddler sock in there, thank you, YouTube. Like, then you can figure things out. Like there's stuff I've figured out that I would have never thought. And especially with like AI and ChatGPT, like you could figure it out. There's a lot of information at our hands.
Yes, I think that's an excellent way to think about it. And then something else that I wanted to mention. So you mentioned the job descriptions where women like don't apply if they don't check all the boxes. I have this conversation literally every day, if not multiple times a day, where someone will say like, hey, I really want to apply for this job, but it's like, I don't have this, or this. I'm like, do you have 80% of what's on that job description? Apply. Do you have 60%? Apply. Like, it's okay. Your energy and your excitement for that job is so much more than those, ticking the boxes. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention too, that I hear a lot is, this is in the career space, but it's like, oh, I want to make a change, but I'm going to have to start over. It's like back to square one. And that's another like big mindset block. I think that like lack of confidence that your skills are going to transfer from one place to another. Well, it's a different company, different industry, different role. And it's like, no, you're not. You're going to figure it out, first of all. And second of all, your skills translate. It's just a matter of translating them for whoever you're talking to. So
I see that a lot. So I mean, as you know, I work a lot with women who are in toxic workplaces, especially because of my own journey. But the women I coach, I really described my work as like an abusive relationship, and I stayed for the kids. The kids were my students, my staff. But you think about the unhealthy dynamics of a relationship and why women stay, unfortunately. But you also get it. Like we tell ourselves a lot of different things like, oh, there's not a job out there for me. I can't find anybody else. Like no one's going to love me. And like, again, I don't want to like minimize an abusive relationship, but it's like when you think about that career, it's all of these limiting beliefs of like, well, that's going to be hard. But also sometimes too, women get to a place where like, okay, I'm going to choose that hard over staying in this hard. And really just being aware of what we're saying ourselves, that's keeping us stuck. Like, yeah, it's going to be scary. But then there's on the flip side, like it could be so much better. Like you have no idea. You're just assuming that it's going to be hard and it's going to be worse. And so really watching that, especially when it comes to career stuff.
Yes, it's so hard to get in that crystal ball and see the future. We really can't do it, but you got to trust. You got to trust like, hey, something over there is calling me. I'm going to go kind of dig in and gather as much information as I can to make the most informed decision and know that all my experiences up until today are going to go with me no matter what. So, Now, Todd, let's talk about some of your clients and some of their breakthroughs. So is there a client or a story or a moment or something that you want to share with us, or maybe like a common thread that you've seen folks have?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that huge mindset shift. I mean, it depends like different spaces. I have women that are like, oh my gosh, you helped me with my resume and I finally got the job, But I think it's really understanding, they become super aware of those limiting beliefs and the lies they've told themselves. And it's like they start negotiating salaries or, setting boundaries with people, leading with authenticity. But it's like coming home to yourself. And I think that was just part of my journey. Even for myself, I remember being in that workplace of like kind of being this chameleon, like I'd shift to the rooms and I would be who I thought they wanted me to be, but I lost my voice. And so like the biggest threat is like when women realize their value and it's just magic. Like they get back into it, they feel comfortable and confident, and then they stop settling for things that are just like not in alignment, whether that's the salary of a position or how they're being treated. That's definitely the biggest thread that I've seen is like that shift. And it's like, absolutely. I mean, I'll get voice notes from clients and I'm like crying or like, body chills, all the stuff, because it's just so amazing to see. I truly believe that the more confident women we have out there, the better off this world is going to be. Because we have been kind of stuck and silent and played small for lots of different reasons. But when we stop doing that, like world, watch out.
It's true. It's so true. Now, one thing that you mentioned that really stood out to me is coming home to yourself. And that's really what I try to help people focus on is like we get so far away, myself included. We don't even know who we are anymore because we're so ingrained in trying to be these chameleons and fit in and do, all the things we're supposed to be doing, quote unquote, but really don't even know who we are anymore. And it's really about that alignment. And I talk about it from a heart-based place, like your values, your core values, your lifestyle values, the impact, the energy, like all of these things to come back into alignment and really feel good about the work you're doing. And that builds the confidence through time. So I really appreciate you sharing all that. And the stop settling, man, if we could just get that out there, ladies, stop settling. There's so much more goodness out there for you. So especially the toxic relationships or the places that you just don't feel like you fit. It's okay. It's okay to notice that and make a change.
Yeah. So. I love so much what you do with the heart piece of it though, too. Because like it is that energy and like listening to that. And that's where it's like really helpful for my clients to like doing like a values assessment. Like, what are your values? Who are you? What do you like? What do you not like? It's like so often we don't ask ourselves that, especially, when we're women, especially when we're mothers or caregivers or, we're leaders of other people. We become so focused on other that we forget who we are and what we want and what we love. So getting back in touch with your heart is so, so important. And your energy, like what energizes you, what drains you, are we just doing things because we thought we had to do that? And I had this dream of like, I'll be a vice president. Well, then maybe I'll be a president one day. But I was like, now I look back, I would never want that job. Like, I think I'll break out in hives if I even think about it too long, but it's like listening to that because it's like something that I had told myself, but it was like on my heart. I knew that I wanted to be able to serve women in a bigger way. Again, as soon as that like clicked and you see women that clicks and they start doing, it's magical. So.
It really is. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about that pause, just like taking a breather, taking a moment to pause and do that reflection work and figure out. And it's so easy to get caught up in all the shoulds. Like that was my whole career, was like following the shoulds and, oh my gosh, there's just like so much there. So now I want to mention one thing, and I think I've seen this in some of your materials, but something that I see a lot with women is the we versus I conversation.
Yes.
And so this comes up in interview prep. It comes up on resumes, like all the things. So tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah. That's another one of my favorite things is really understanding the psychology behind our communication. So that's like our verbal and nonverbal. So when we communicate, a lot of times we'll use qualifiers. We over apologize unnecessarily. But when you're talking about your accomplishments, I want you to say I. Now, I'm not saying take credit for things that are not your success, but you need to own the fact that you did this. And I realized I was doing that so much. I would be like, oh yeah, we wrote this, $300,000 grant. And I was like, wait a minute, there's not a mouse in my pocket. Like I wrote that grant, like I did it. And if it's a team effort, you can still call it out and say like what portion you did. Because too, as women, like we don't talk about ourselves. Like I was really good about talking about my team, but if I'm not telling my boss what I'm doing, then I'm missing an opportunity. And so like I tell people, start out your, one-on-ones to be like, here's my 3 wins for the week. Because you're coaching them and you're planting those seeds. You're coaching yourself to get comfortable talking about your success, but it's also then that way they can know. Because if I didn't know what my team was doing, I then couldn't brag on them. So those are some of the other ones. And there's a lot of non-verbals. That's a whole other like podcast.
Oh, yes.
But non-verbally, what we do in terms of, looking at our phones or, how we stand, just gestures, eye contact. There's so much that women do that really exude this lack of confidence. And it's something that is very fixable. So.
Yes, it is. That takes practice too. It's another skill. Yeah. So it's building that skill over time. And the we versus I is something specifically like in interviews, when I'll do interview prep with folks, I have like a framework. There's a million frameworks, STAR, stories, whatever. I like OAR, like objective, action, result. And I always say like when someone gets to the action and they talk about like what was actually done, we. No. The interviewer wants to know what you did. Tell them what you did. Own it. Yes, we know there's a team. And I always say that as a recruiter, like I know there's a team that gets work done. I want to know what you specifically were responsible for. And it's okay to own that, on your resume or in an interview. So
yeah. And really, again, I love men, but men just do this naturally.
They do.
Sometimes I've been, and we've had those people too, where they've said I when it was not I, like you take credit for what I did. So that's a whole other conversation, but it's like just getting more comfortable with that and natural. But there's this fear of how we're going to be perceived. And we do so much impression management of like, oh, I'm going to, not look humble and it is hard because like there is this fear, like for women of this double bind. If I'm too confident, I'm like, at this point, I don't care if I'm too confident for you, then you're not my people. Like, it's just not a fit. Or if I, so it's just figuring out those things too, because like we've got to start taking credit for our success and get comfortable doing that.
Yeah. And what you were just talking about made me think of like the difference between confident and cocky.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a big difference there. And when you are taking credit for your work and you are shining in your work and you are showing up with confidence, that's not cocky.
You can be compassionate. You can care. Like you can still be a decent human being.
Yes.
And be confident. And I think as women, that's where we do a disservice because when I play small, other people see that too. And like everyone's watching you. And like, I think my daughters, like they see it for me. And so like as females in leadership, it's so important that they see those other confident women because then it's just, we're modeling. We teach people how to treat us too in lots of different ways. So.
Right. That's right. And I think there is like what you were saying before, like you can be a humble, confident leader. You don't have to be the cocky, confident leader. Right.
Confident and not know everything. Like I don't know everything, but I'm so confident in what I do know. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I think sometimes people are like, "Oh, if I'm confident, I'm going to come across like this," but you're not. So,
No, no.
Okay, so if someone's listening right now and they're feeling just kind of like burned out from hustle culture, or they're feeling kind of like low on self-belief, what's one bold step they could take this week to kind of change that momentum?
Yeah. So two things. I mean, the one is like, if you're burnout, you need to rest. Like, let's do that. Let's figure out your rest. But if you're in this place of self-doubt, I love to have clients do this. And it's what I call is like a brag book. I want you to really write down things that you have achieved, what you're proud of, like success. And it could be something like, y'all, I showered today. Like that was a big deal. Or my kids got to school on day, like on time. Like it can be so small, but it can also be your big wins. Like I got my PhD at 26. I just flew back from Kentucky and did this like half-day women in business retreat. But as women, we don't do that. So starting a brag book, I'd love for clients to do that because when you have those moments of self-doubt, you can go back and look at them. Mm-hmm. You can review those. And so it's like having that, you're like, wow, I really have done a lot, but we're so forward, hustle that it's like, we got to take a moment to pause and realize what we've achieved as well. And then it also helps in those interviews when you're talking about I versus we, here's the things that I've done. So I think that's the biggest thing is like, start a brag book.
Yes. I love the brag book idea. I call it like an I did it list. Like, hey, these are the things I did this week, so we could take our I did it list and form it into the brag book.
Yes. Yes.
I think that's excellent guidance and so easy. It takes 2 minutes. Just jot a few things down every day or every week. And, by the end of the month, you'll have the entire book and you can use that in all the places. And I also want to call out too, people are going to want to celebrate your successes. Like that's the other thing. Like people want to celebrate. Like you were just saying, oh, I did this women's retreat and I did a keynote. It's like, I want to celebrate that with you, know? And if you have a circle of people that don't want to celebrate, then find the people that do.
Yeah, find a new circle.
Yes. And I think of the keynote we were at together, the Hype Women keynote. Like you got to find the people that are going to celebrate and brag with you because I think that's important.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Now, Casey, as we come to a close, I like to ask everybody for their flourishing favorite. So a book or a podcast or a resource that has had a significant impact on your career that you want to share.
Yeah. I mentioned one earlier, but the one I think in this kind of phase of my life is The Confidence Code. And it's by Katie Kay and Claire Shipman. And it really blends this like research and also real stories about confidence and specifically for women. So it goes into the research behind it. And it was just life-changing for me in lots of ways. Because when I started coaching, I was like, oh, I'm going to coach women in burnout. I was like, no, I was going through burnout. Like I should not be coaching people through burnout. I'm better now. But it was like such an aha moment because I was like, this is what I've been doing all along. It's like who I am, my own journey, but even people that I supervise. So definitely The Confidence Code is such a powerful book.
Excellent. And you had mentioned that you are also writing a book. So can you tell us a little more about that too?
Oh my gosh, yes. So it was really like after doing so many different keynotes and out there, just traveling, doing conferences, people would come up and be like, I need your book. Or even like my lovely listeners that like read my newsletter each week. I'm still like, someone will send me like, oh my gosh, I'm like, oh, you guys should read this. Like, I didn't know people were reading this, but it's still like, as you grow your business and your identity there, it was this request of like, you need to write a book. And I was like, okay, it's on my heart. I've always wanted to do it. And so it's really getting into a lot of these things. And there's no title yet because we're in the writing phase. But it's understanding the psychology and understanding even my own personal journey. So there's stories mixed in there. There's funny stories in there. But it's really understanding for women all of the things that we talked about today and also getting into those workplace dynamics of like a toxic workplace and understanding psychological safety. So it's coming out in the spring. The goal is to have it launched by March.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'm so excited.
Well, we can't wait for that to come out. And maybe we'll have to have you on again to brag about the book and get everybody to buy it. Casey, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing all these stories and this wisdom and the science-backed wisdom. It's been such a joy. So if someone needs a little more Dr. Casey Lacey in their life, where should they go?
Yes, definitely. I'm on LinkedIn, but my website. So it's CaseyLacey.com. My parents had to be difficult. So it's KASILACEY.com. So you can find information there, but LinkedIn is definitely my primary place where you can find me. Message me. I love, when people reach out of like if something was helpful or if they need help with anything. So I'm here to support women and also organizations. So If you need me to come speak to your staff, or there's a women in business group or just a women's group, I love doing that.
Amazing. We will have all of those links in the show notes for people to reach out. So listeners, as always, the notes from today's episode will be on the blog at flourish.careers/blog. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.